told you. The other one is taking place outside the residence of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha, Rahul Gandhi, organized a sit-in protest at 7 Lok Kalyan Marg today, which is the official residence of the Prime Minister. He urged people to mobilize at the site to ensure accountability for the NEET paper leak and demand the resignations of Prime Minister Narendra Modi as well as Home Minister Amit Shah. Union Minister Jitendra Singh arrived at the protest site and he was seen briefly conversing with Rahul Gandhi. But shortly after that, several Congress leaders were forcibly removed from the spot. As per reports, Rahul rejected the centre's outreach and vowed to continue the protests overnight.
मुझे तो शिक्षा मंत्री का इस्तीफा भी चाहिए.
At first, Rahul Gandhi demanded discussion on NEET paper leak in the parliament to end his protest. When the government agreed to the demand, Rahul Gandhi changed the goalpost and started demanding Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation. When I confronted Rahul Gandhi, he said demands have changed now.
Now, minutes after Rahul Gandhi's demand of Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation, security forces moved in to empty that area and removed Rahul Gandhi along with Priyanka Gandhi Vadra and the leader of opposition in the Rajya Sabha, Mallikarjun Kharge, from outside the Prime Minister's residence. Rahul Gandhi's protest, remember, comes a day after Cockroach Janata Party's Parliament march. The march had witnessed clashes between the police and demonstrators at various locations. While the police claim that protesters turned violent, demonstrators say it was the police who resorted to lathi charge. Multiple FIRs have been filed and the protesters have now returned to Jantar Mantar. They vowed to continue their sit-in until their demands are met. Several opposition leaders once again reached Jantar Mantar in support of the movement. Meanwhile, chaos and sloganeering continued in the parliament, prompting adjournment of both the houses today. In fact, for the second consecutive day today, both houses failed to conduct legislative affairs. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that preventing paper leaks is a national responsibility. He also urged for collective efforts to build a foolproof examination system and vowed strict punishment for those who are responsible for the NEET paper leak. In the meantime, the Delhi High Court has allowed Sonam Wangchuk to be admitted to a private hospital at the request of his wife. Remember, Wangchuk emerged as a face of the cockroach movement and he's been on a hunger strike since the last 24 days. And to give us the latest updates on this particular development here in the national capital, our correspondent Dharamjot Kaur has sent us this report from Jantar Mantar. She's been tracking the developments all through the day. Take a look.
Similar scenes are now again unfolding at Jantar Mantar, which was quite familiar with yesterday's protest, a march which was proposed, but it ended up with a lot of unfortunate instances of clashes and a lot of brute excessive force by police personnel against young protesters, majority of whom were demonstrating peacefully and non-violently. Now more people are returning back to the protest site. Once again, the footfall is so high that the people present over here are spilling out of the designated area of protest, which is a small enclosure. And now all the roads that are leading up to this protest site at Jantar Mantar are once again full of people, also volunteers and locals who are bringing food and water here for all the protesters. And so now the original demands of the Education Minister's resignation and also of a structural overhaul of India's education system, that has now been compounded by the unnecessary use of brutal force against people, which has made many people angry and come back to the streets and demand for justice and demand for accountability. And at the bottom line of it, demand to be heard. Where this conversation now goes is going to be a big question, because it's also reached other political corridors to a new level. We're talking about opposition parties like the Congress also protesting and demonstrating outside the Prime Minister's residence, demanding for his resignation. Although the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha sessions today in Parliament were adjourned midway, it remains to be seen how this conversation now escalates from this point, because it has already grown way beyond the Cockroach Janata Party and way beyond just the three demands that have been raised. Here at Jantar Mantar with video journalist Abhishek, this is Dharmjot Kaur for WION World is One.
The police have erected barricades along the Punjab-Haryana border ahead of the farmers' planned march to New Delhi. Authorities have tightened security to maintain law and order as farmers protest provisions related to the proposed India-US trade deal. The Haryana police have sealed the Shambhu border and they've deployed heavy security forces as farmers prepare to travel to New Delhi for a large farmers' assembly at Kisan Ghat under the banner of Desh Bachao Morcha. The bridge over the Ghaggar River has been sealed with barricades and cement blocks to restrict movement. Visuals from the Patiala side show hundreds of farmers assembling near the border with the police barricades put in place to control movement and maintain law and order. The protesters are demanding the withdrawal of the proposed India-US trade deal, raising concerns over its impact on the farmers' interests. They argue that reduced import duties could allow cheaper, subsidized American agricultural products to enter the Indian market and create unfair competition for local farmers. Authorities said that a road linking Amritsar and Delhi, which had been blocked during the protest, was later restored for traffic. The protest comes after farmers held a demonstration at the Shambhu Toll Plaza on the Ambala-Punjab highway on Monday this week against the arrest of farm leader Gurnam Singh Charuni, the president of the Bharatiya Kisan Union Charuni faction. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju has said that the government has assured farmers that their interests will remain a priority in any trade agreement. Rijiju said that the government remains committed to protecting farmers' welfare while negotiating international trade agreements.
आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कहा है, जितना भी फ्री ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट हुए हैं उसमें किसानों को लेकर के किसानों का इंटरेस्ट उसको प्राथमिकता देते हुए कोई नुकसान होने नहीं देंगे। किसी भी देश के साथ, किसी भी गुट के साथ फ्री ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट हुए हैं।
United States is heading for a high-stakes midterm elections. Remember, it will determine the balance of power in the Congress. But at the same time, the election will be a first referendum of Trump's second presidency. But as we draw closer to the election day, remember, Donald Trump's approval ratings are showing no signs of recovery. In fact, he's losing support from key demographic groups that played a huge role in his victory in the 2024 presidential election. The latest one to join the list is mothers. Let's understand the overall state of Trump's approval rating so far before we dive into the specific details. According to a poll conducted by Echelon Insights, 62% people believe that US is heading towards the wrong direction. On the contrary, 31% of respondents believe that the country is heading toward a right direction. Trump's approval ratings also remain on the lower side. 61% participated in the poll say they disapprove Donald Trump's performance as president. Owing to this, his approval ratings now stand at just 38%. Now, one of the main factors that is driving this dip is Donald Trump's approval ratings among mothers. 62% of the mothers who participated in this poll disapprove of Donald Trump's performance. This is 6% higher than what it was in 2025. His approval ratings among mothers now stands at 37%. Let's quickly take a look at the main issues that are likely to dominate political debates leading up to the midterm elections in November this year. The poll reveals that the cost of living is the most important issue for 45% of Americans. Political corruption comes in at number 2 with 30%, while other issues, including immigration, jobs, economy, and healthcare, also coming in. Now, Trump's approval ratings on these key issues remains on the lower side. 20% respondents approve of his performance on economy, 42% approve his performance on immigration, and 37% people are happy with his foreign policy at the moment. Trump's Democrat rivals are leading the poll battle for now. Remember, but according to CNN's polling analyst Harry Enten, they have no reason to rest easy. Even as their party is leading in generic ballot polling, the margin remains lower than what it was in 2018 and 2006. Now, when Democrats took back control of the Congress from Republicans in the midterm elections, UK's new Prime Minister Andy Burnham has pledged to bring back hope to Britain as he begins his tenure as the Prime Minister with a massive cabinet shake-up. Burnham launched his premiership with the surprise appointment of John Haley as Chancellor, purging the cabinet of his predecessor's loyalists. Now, in total, Andy Burnham dismissed 11 cabinet ministers known to be loyal to Keir Starmer. Out went Rachel Reeves as Chancellor, David Lammy as Deputy Prime Minister and Justice Secretary, and Steve Reid as the Community Secretary. Former Defence Secretary Haley has replaced Reeves as Chancellor. Wes Streeting, meanwhile, who, remember, had abandoned plans to run against Burnham for the Labour leadership, is now in charge of Defence. Ed Miliband was appointed the Foreign Minister, while Angela Rayner returned to the government. Shabana Mahmood, meanwhile, was reappointed as the Interior Minister to see through her hardline reforms of Britain's asylum system. Burnham met with King Charles at the Buckingham Palace to formally become the head of the government following Keir Starmer's departure. He is the monarch's 4th Prime Minister since his accession to the throne back in 2022 and Britain's 7th Prime Minister in just over a decade. Before he entered 10 Downing Street, Andy Burnham said that the country needed to show the world it could regain stability. He vowed to create a new political model and build a new economy. He outlined his intention to unveil a 10-year new plan for Britain later this year, explaining this would lay out a path to where he believes we all want Britain to be.
I know people at home are fed up with politics. I hear you, and I want to be honest with you. We have not been good enough, and we need to be better. We will be. We will make this moment a circuit breaker for Britain, bringing forward the biggest changes in the last 40 years. A new political model and a new economic model.
Burnham also held separate phone calls with the US President Donald Trump as well as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Trump noted that he had a very good conversation with Burnham and that the two leaders would meet in the not-too-distant future. Now, as Labour leader Andy Burnham takes charge, some Britons are optimistic. Many admit that they know little about their new leader. Take a listen.
I think there's quite a bit of still uncertainty. We don't know what he's bringing on board. Personally, I'm just surprised with how many prime ministers we've had in the past couple of years. So I'm just hoping that he will just take up the mantle and do what's best for the people, really, yeah.
I think, look, it's change. We're going to have to see how it goes. I don't really know him very well, so I'll be interested to learn more about his policies and what he's got planned. So I think nationalisation of steel and how he's going to take that forward, I don't know. So we'll just have to say I don't know him very well, I'm afraid.
I don't know him, personally, but he seems to have a lot of ideas, and he's done good things in Manchester. I know that's a positive thing. I just don't know whether he would do another election. I don't know. Yeah, and there's a lot of problems around the world. I don't know who can solve them all.
21st July is a day that holds major significance in West Bengal's political history. For the first time in over 3 decades, the Shahid Divas is becoming a point of contest among different political parties in the state. The parties planned parallel events to claim the history of Shahid Divas. Now, the roots of this day, Shahid Divas, go back to 1993 when 13 youth Congress activists were killed in police fire. The protests were led by the then Youth Congress leader, Mamata Banerjee. They were demanding electoral reforms. At that time, West Bengal was ruled by a communist leader, Jyoti Basu. When Mamata Banerjee formed Trinamool Congress, memory of that day became central to the party's political identity. But the party now stands divided between Mamata Banerjee-led faction and the rebel faction, both of which are staking claim on Shahid Divas. The city of Kolkata witnessed 2 parallel events. One was organized by Mamata Banerjee near the Birla Planetarium. Addressing her supporters, Mamata took aim at the rebels and dared them to join the Bharatiya Janata Party. She also referred to the defectors as thieves. Now, a few minutes of distance away, rebel faction led by Ritabrata Banerjee held a rally. TMC rebels Madan Mitra, Firhad Hakim addressed the gathering. Both leaders launched verbal attacks on Mamata Banerjee. In fact, Hakim also said that blood was thicker than her workers' love, while Madan Mitra asked Mamata Banerjee to admit her mistake. Another rally, a third one, was hosted by West Bengal unit of the Congress in front of Shahid Minar. The party claims that the origins of Shahid Divas predate the creation of TMC. Mamata Banerjee was leading the charge, but the real fight to observe Martyrs' Day rests with the Congress. Another event, a fourth one, took place in the national capital where rebel TMC MPs gathered at Rajghat to observe Martyrs' Day. Remember, 20 TMC MPs have joined the NCPI to avoid anti-defection law. West Bengal's BJP government has also stepped in. On the 20th of July, Chief Minister Shubhendu Adhikari presented the Justice Sushanta Chatterjee Commission report in the State Assembly. This report concluded that the 1993 police firing was not justified and the circumstances did not warrant the use of force. The government has accused previous governments of inaction and announced a compensation for the victims' families. So essentially this year, 21st of July, has become a political contest on multiple fronts, with the Congress trying to reclaim it, different TMC camps trying to inherit it, and the BJP government of the state claiming to do justice to the victims. Moving on, the political slugfest between the ruling TVK and the opposition DMK in Tamil Nadu is refusing to die down. A fresh row has now erupted over the arrest of DMK MLA G.V. Markandayan. Markandayan, remember, who represents the Vilathikulam Assembly constituency, was arrested over his alleged threatening remarks against Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Vijay. The legislator claims that the police threatened him at gunpoint and attempted to assault him while in custody. After 10 hours of questioning, the DMK MLA was produced before a local court, which remanded him to 14 days of judicial custody. The arrest has triggered a sharp reaction from the DMK leadership. The party's chief and former Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has accused the TVK government of targeting former DMK ministers and MLAs. He's also accused the TVK of neglecting democratic values in the state. DMK leader Kanimori, meanwhile, has hit out at Vijay's government as well. In a post on X, Kanimori accused the TVK government of suppressing dissent, and she vowed to give a befitting lesson to the TVK through democratic means. Now, this arrest comes just weeks after former DMK minister Anita Radhakrishnan was also arrested over remarks against the chief minister, further intensifying the political rivalry between the ruling TVK and the opposition DMK. Over the last couple of months, the war of words between the TVK and the DMK has only escalated, and sharply, with both sides accusing each other of bribing legislators. Our principal correspondent, Siddharth MP, has sent us this report from Chennai. Take a look.
DMK MLA Markandayan has been arrested by the police for making certain remarks against Chief Minister Vijay. In a recent viral video from a DMK event, Markandayan, the legislator of the DMK, is seen saying that he will break the bones of Chief Minister Vijay and chase the Chief Minister out of the assembly. The DMK, of course, in the immediate aftermath of the arrest, has alleged a witch hunt, and it has said that it will democratically fight all these attempts of political vendetta by Vijay's TVK government. Meanwhile, the BJP in Tamil Nadu has welcomed the arrest by saying that political parties and their leaders should be careful about what they speak, and they should not go out and abuse elected leaders in high office. Meanwhile, the BJP has also urged the TVK government to take action against some of its old complaints. Earlier, when the DMK was in power, the BJP in Tamil Nadu had filed complaints with the police against several leaders of the DMK who allegedly made abusive remarks against BJP's top leadership, including the Prime Minister and the Home Minister. Now, the BJP is urging the TVK government to take action against the erring police officials and the politicians who made such abusive remarks. From Chennai, Siddharth MP, WION World is One.
Nicaraguan President Daniel Ortega has declared that there will be no more elections in the country to allow the opposition to take power. He has reinforced his grip on the Central African nation after nearly 2 decades in office. Speaking during ceremonies marking the 47th anniversary of the Sandinista revolution in the capital, Managua, the 80-year-old leader, dismissed any possibility of future elections that could bring his political rivals to power. Ortega, who's a former Marxist revolutionary who first rose to prominence after leading the Sandinista revolution against a US-backed dictatorship, has governed Nicaragua since returning to power in 2007. His successive election victories have been widely questioned by the international community.
They better forget it. Here there will be no more elections, so they can try to grab the government and seize power. We are going to work with the National Assembly and the relevant organizations because we need to pass laws that will put up a wall, a barrier against the coup plotters and the traitors, so that no matter how much money the Yankees give them, they won't be able to succeed.
General elections had originally been expected this November. However, constitutional reforms approved last year extended the presidential term from 5 to 6 years, moving the next elections in the country to 2027. Addressing thousands of supporters, Ortega accused the opposition groups, many of whose leaders are now living in exile, of working with the United States to regain power. Ortega and his wife, Vice President Rosario Murillo, have ruled Nicaragua with sweeping authority for nearly 2 decades now. His government has faced widespread international criticism over its treatment of political opponents and its crackdown on anti-government protests in 2018, during which the UN says that more than 300 people were killed. Opposition groups in exile continue to call for increased international pressure to restore democratic elections, while concerns over Nicaragua's political future remains a focus of global attention. Diplomacy has many notes, and sometimes it's the strongest message. It's carried in a song. Thai Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul struck that chord by singing a classic Theresa Teng hit for Chinese Premier Li Qiang during a formal lunch in Beijing. The Thai Prime Minister continued his signature style of musical diplomacy. Footage released by the office of the Prime Minister showed the Thai leader seated beside the Chinese Premier, microphone in hand, singing a classic hit by Taiwanese icon Theresa Teng. Lee and other guests responded with applause as Anutin's performance was accompanied by a piano. The performance follows recent musical appearances by the Thai Prime Minister, including playing the saxophone, while Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim sang My Way, and joining musicians in Vietnam during a visit to Hanoi. In fact, he's made music a distinct feature of his diplomatic engagements, combining cultural outreach with official visits. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Race to Power. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. News and updates will continue on the other side. Bye-bye.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more. Know more? Understand better? Think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT.